Russell Baker in the New York Review of Books, in a review of Worth the Fighting For, quote, McCain keeps saying that he remains a conservative, but this book does nothing to confirm it. It is the work of someone who has found out, rather late in life, who he is and what he truly believes, close quote. Senator, you have gone through half a dozen major life experiences. Why are you finding out rather late in life who you are and what you believe?
Well, I'm not sure I totally agree with Russell Baker.
You're allowed to bat the premise away if you want to.
Yeah, I found out a lot of things when I spent time in prison in Hanoi. But I've learned a lot through the political process. And as I've tried to point out in the book, I learned from people that I respected and admired, particularly in the political arena. Scoop Jackson was a very bipartisan person on national defense. Mo Udall I loved as much as any person I've ever known. Barry Goldwater, very independent and outspoken. So
let me try to draw a bead on your politics, Senator. Right. So in your book, you write that Teddy Roosevelt was your greatest political hero. You also write of Ronald Reagan, quote, no one had a more pronounced influence on my political convictions than Ronald Reagan. Well, there you have it right there. TR is the progressive. He believed in activist government. Ronald Reagan is the classic conservative, skeptical of every step the government takes. How do you reconcile your admiration for those two?
I think that what Ronald Reagan had was a sincerity and an honesty about his convictions. And at the same time, he was very pleasant to one and all. The famous stories of him and Tip O'Neill, who was a left-wing liberal and he a strong conservative, that they used to fight all day and then have drinks and swap stories together in the evening. I admired Ronald Reagan for many things, including his role he played in winning the Cold War.
Right.
Strong, his defense, support of a strong national defense, his national security positions, etc. And I do believe there was a time for Ronald Reagan. I believe that before Ronald Reagan there was excesses on the liberal side of government, fiscal and discipline, larger, ever-increasing role of government. Then I think perhaps we may have gone too far in the other direction.
You admire Ronald Reagan, you admire Barry Goldwater. Set that to one side. Now listen to this. George Will, one of your great fans, on the tobacco bill that you supported. You more than supported it. You were instrumental in seeing the passage of that bill. Quote, the tobacco bill was to compensate government, which actually makes money from smoking, by punishing a legal industry for selling legal products to people supposedly not responsible for the foolish decisions Joe Camel made them make. Close quote. All right, so would Barry Goldwater and Ronald Reagan have patted you on the back and said, John, well done about the tobacco bill?
I think if they accepted the premise that this is a very harmful substance and enticing young people to use it and using all kinds of different enticements to get them addicted to it, I think that at least they would have respected my point of view.
Here's what I'm getting at. Teddy Roosevelt, Ronald Reagan, Goldwater, what you admire, this is one reading of your book, it's my reading so far, you can correct me, is dynamism, animal vitality, goodness and bigness of heart, willingness to shake up the established order. Now, what that makes you is a dynamic and interesting character, but not necessarily by any means a conservative. You going to buy that?
I have to say that I think that there are very legitimate ways of reading some of the things I've done that way, but I also view some of it as a process of maturation, a better understanding of some of the issues, and also the country changes. I think Ronald Reagan was perfect for his time. We were not doing well in the Cold War. There were too much excesses of liberalism, certainly in my view in America, and he brought the pendulum back. I also believe there was a time for Teddy Roosevelt. Teddy Roosevelt was a reformer because there was corruption in the land. If there hadn't been so much corruption, I'm not sure that Teddy Roosevelt, at least he might have had the same feelings, but I don't think he would have succeeded. There was a time for there was some time somebody came on the American scene to take on the robber barons.
Okay.